The Nintendo Switch 2, one of the gaming industry's worst kept secrets.
Put down the gun! What's in the box? Don't worry about it. Hey, who wants to hear a joke? What's in the box?
And now a word from our sponsor.
Tired of your internet provider or government and every advertiser this side of the algorithm knowing what you Googled last night? Meet Proton VPN, the no logs policy. No nonsense VPN that doesn't just pretend to care about your privacy while secretly selling your data. It's supported on all major devices, including iOS and Android. Born from CERN scientists and backed by Swiss privacy laws so strict even your coffee order would be confidential. With Proton VPN, your connection is encrypted. Tighter than the TSA liquid bag. It masks your IP, blocks creepy trackers, kills malware before it lands, and runs on a strict independent audit. No logs policy, meaning even Proton couldn't snitch on you, even if someone asked nicely. Want to watch US Netflix in Tokyo or the BBC in Boise? Want it in 4K? Done. Proton VPN has 12,000 servers in 110 countries, optimized for streaming, torrenting, or pretending you live in Denmark for no reason at all. Speeds up to 10 gigabytes with a VPN accelerator that slaps buffering into the next week. Need to dodge censorship? Stealth mode, smart protocols, alternative routing. Proton VPN was basically built to punch firewalls in the face. You can even disguise the app as a calculator if you wanted, because your privacy is your business, not your border guards. There's even a free version with no ads, no data selling, no sketchy fine print. You don't even need an account to use it on Android. It's not a trap. It's just better internet. Go to proton.com/Gundo and get a mega exclusive 64% discount. Accessory maker Genki leaked the Nintendo Switch 2 at CES in January. Nintendo denied all the leaks per as usual. But we all knew it was the Switch 2. The hype was real. Nintendo fans are the weeb equivalent of Disney adults. And this news tickled them right in their Mario sunshine.
Nintendo Direct, because people were screaming, excited, everyone is yelling, and it was so fun kind of seeing what people were most excited about.
Gay. 8 days later, Nintendo saw the writing on the wall that everybody knew this was the Switch 2, and no amount of going, no it isn't, wasn't going to fool anybody. So they revealed the Switch 2, and the children cheered in delight. And when I say children, I mean adults with Funko Pop collections. And you might say,
Gundam, don't you have a model kit collection?
And I'd say, yes, of course, you fool! These are the choices made by an Apex collector. Nerd. It was at this point that even I was considering buying a Nintendo Switch to see what all the fuss was about. On April 2nd, Nintendo Direct posted an hour-long video of the juicy Switch details. Nintendo started showing off games and peripherals, many of which didn't appeal to me, like a webcam, but maybe great if you're a parent and you want to game with your kids on the Switch while you're traveling for work. But then I saw this very strange message.
A Nintendo Switch online membership will be required to use the game chat.
You need an online subscription just to chat with your friends and family on game chat. This business model worked for the early days of Xbox Live, but it's 2025. You can always FaceTime someone with your iPhone if you need to. Steam allows you to chat with your friends on the Steam Deck with no extra charge or fees. Whatever. Nintendo's going to Nintendo. But they did have some cool features like Game Share, where one person could share a single game with everyone else in the room that had a Switch. This seems awesome. Nintendo Direct showed off a strong line of games and backwards compatibility with popular titles, which from what I can tell is just emulation. So you could do all of this on the Steam Deck with a much bigger library. But I digress. The Steam Deck requires you to use 2 neurons, and ain't nobody got time for that. When the modern vintage gamer said the Switch 2 would use emulation almost 2 years ago, people wanted to burn this man at the stake. They called him a grifter and shameless, and in the last 5 days, he was vindicated. Of course, no one will ever say sorry on the internet because everyone's an asshole.
So this particular information comes from the Ask a Developer blog series on Nintendo.com. It's tricky to explain. Maybe the easiest way to understand it is that the methods used to achieve compatibility between Nintendo DS and 3DS and between Switch and Switch 2 are completely different. Simply put, those systems were compatible because Nintendo 3DS contained DS hardware and Wii U contained Wii hardware, as we said. However, Switch 2 doesn't contain any Switch hardware. And this is where we get into the meat of the discussion. Does this mean that Switch and Switch 2 aren't compatible at a hardware level? Exactly. This time we decided to take on the challenge of using new technology to run Switch games. If we tried to use a technology like software emulators, we'd have to run Switch 2 at full capacity. But that would mean the battery wouldn't last so long, so we did something that's somewhere in between a software emulator and hardware compatibility.
He's a monster.
Everything seemed positive about the Switch 2. Even I was primed and ready to go. Take my money, please! Higeo Miyamuro? I don't know who the hell works at Nintendo anymore. But like all things in the 2020s, all that hope and optimism was gone. The game prices were revealed and the hype dropped faster and harder than my portfolio investment after the tariffs. During the Mario livestream, fans began to revolt.
Drop the prices!
Increase the prices.
Drop the prices! Drop the prices! Boo! Boo! Hiss!
Man, boo. Tomato, tomato, tomato.
The children were squealing in horror.
Former Nintendo PR says Switch 2 and Mario Kart World Backlash are a true crisis moment.
Don't worry, it's Nintendo. They're not going to change anything because they know you people will pay.
Nintendo bumps game prices on the digital Switch 2 games to $80. Physical games are $90. Gaming at a new MSRP of $80 is here thanks to Nintendo. New Switch 2 platform pricing scheme. But that's only for digital. Physical games will be $90.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
Somehow, someway, Nintendo'd so hard that everyone who was a fan of Nintendo couldn't imagine such a thing happening. Kind of like what's going on with the current administration.
I'm amazed of his genius.
Some Nintendo fans ran to defend the company because that's what you do. You defend the billion-dollar company you love more than most of your family members, especially your second cousin Daniel.
In the middle 90s, game pricing was here. Do you think that the $20 to $30 inflation for Nintendo is valid? It's been 20 plus years.
All right, using old Nintendo games costs more as your argument is lame and gay. Those are cartridges made with materials like plastic and copper. Some even had physics chips built into them for certain games. The game boxes came with manuals, posters, tchotchkes, stickers. All the stuff was in the base. Plus, there was no season pass. There was no extra bullshit they could put onto it. You got everything up front. In this day and age, when you got stuff like that, that's the special edition where they want $120 for it. And the fact that digital games cost $80? What type of BS is this?
Gonna be seeing this image in the next few months. I can tell. Gonna say this once. These prices are absurd too. But you know what also existed in the 90s? Retail stores. You didn't have to buy the game to play it. But they really aren't an option these days, are they?
The movie and gaming industry did a fantastic job of limiting consumers' options to own the media that they bought. Or, in this case, to even rent a physical copy to see if you liked it. Other people on Twitter knew that this was just greed, plain and simple.
$80 games are one thing. It's the $80 remasters that I really have a problem with. How did they justify this? They didn't justify it. They just know people will pay these prices. What they're doing to gaming is disgusting. That region locking the $330 Switch 2 in Japan is one of the most egregious things I've ever seen them do, and that's saying something.
When you look at it, you can buy Wind Waker for around $50 on eBay for the GameCube, right? Breath of the Wild on the Switch is $40 on average, $20 on the Wii U. But the Switch 2 version is $70 to $80 for the digital version, and you don't get the box or anything. Gamers on Twitter started turning on each other. Ironically,
It was Tuesday.
the more info that came out, the more pissed off the non-hardcore Nintendo fans became. How it works works, you insert your game key card into the system. Step 2, you download the game. The game itself isn't included on the game key card, so you'll have to download it before you can play. When you insert the game key card, further instructions will be displayed on the home menu. Please follow the instructions to download the game. It's just basically a Steam key, but it's on a little piece of plastic. You can't really sell it then, because it's a key. The Switch 2 USB port, USB-C port doesn't offer video output. All right. The console itself in America is $449 without Mario Kart. The Japanese release was $100 cheaper. But to keep the Americans from buying consoles in Japan at a lower price, the Japanese version was region locked. Gaming journalism immediately swept in to tell you about inflation.
Please, consumer, please. The billion-dollar company is starving. You have to understand that these prices are fair. If you adjust the launch of the Nintendo consoles for inflation, the Switch 2 isn't the most expensive one. But it's pretty close. Here are more details.
Whoopee, hooray!
Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next products.
I feel so much better now, knowing that the NES would have been $500 today. Ugh, I was so close to not buying the Switch 2. And just when the dust began to settle, the goddamn tariffs came in and
Jack punched the global socioeconomic landscape right in the sweetness.
Nintendo immediately postponed the pre-orders for the American launch of the Switch, and you might wonder why. Here's what I gather using common sense. Japan usually outsourced the manufacturing of the Switches to China. Then because of tariffs, China started outsourcing their work to Vietnam, trying to bypass tariffs the first time. But since the current administration has enacted tariffs across the board, even on a small island off the coast of Antarctica that is only inhabited by penguins, you don't believe me? Look it up. Frankly, nobody's safe.
Pre-orders for the Nintendo Switch in the US will not start in April 9th in order to assess the potential impact of tariffs and evolving marketing conditions. Nintendo will update the timing at a later date. The launch date of June 5th, 2025 is unchanged. GameStop will continue to work closely with Nintendo to provide updates. As soon as more information becomes available, stay tuned for further details.
After the pre-order announcement, Nintendo wanted to let you know that Mario Kart was totally worth $80, and it will change your life. A Twitter user, Giant Called Me Astro, had this to say in response.
Red Dead Redemption cost $400 million to make, from the ground up and sold for $60. Meanwhile, Nintendo develops Mario Kart using reused assets for less than $50 million and want to sell it for $90. How can anyone possibly justify these atrocious prices from Nintendo?
Trump announced more tariffs, and China is so pissed off that they banned American movies. I guess they saw Snow White 2 and had enough. At the end of the day, the value of anything is determined by what people will pay for it. I highly doubt these prices will affect Nintendo at the end of the day. The real question is, will the Switch 2 be more expensive? They didn't consider tariffs at first when they were launching the Switch 2, but they will now, as this video clip will show.
Now we're sitting here on April 2nd. It just so happens, as we're recording this, the President of the United States right now is announcing his tariffs. You and so many other executives are pulling their hair out, trying to figure out, how do I price my products? How did that come into play as you're deciding how to price the Switch 2 here in the United States?
Yeah, as we price the Switch 2, the price we announced today of $449 for the single SKU, we didn't consider tariffs into that equation. We felt that that was going to be the right price point for our consumers and the right value proposition, if you will, for the device that we're creating. A lot of news today. We're still all trying to really understand it better and understand what possible impacts, may rise from that. But nothing I can really add to, today's discussion around pricing.
If you think Nintendo didn't see what Nvidia did to finesse the market and use the tariffs to get the maximum amount of profit from their GPUs during the 50 series launch, well, I have a jar of farts that if you take a deep sniff of, will make all of your dreams come true when you awake, and it's only $99.95.
Maybe heavenly. I went to work.
Satisfied customer posted online.
Oh, here's some good news.
Nintendo says it understands that some consumers won't be able to afford the Switch 2, which is why they're still making the Switch 1 available.
It reminds me of that dude when Xbox first launched, and he was like, if you don't want to always be online, you can play Xbox 360. Thank God, Nintendo's making sure that they don't leave without your money. But I'll give them this. If Nvidia was still making the 40 series graphics cards, I would have bought a 4090 rather than a 50 series card any day of the week. So, all sarcasm aside, I guess this is kind of cool if you really want the Switch.
He said, in an attempt to give the right answer.
While finishing off this video, Canada got hit with a pre-order delay.
Oh no!
Regarding the Nintendo Switch 2 pre-orders, pre-orders for the Nintendo Switch 2 in Canada will not start on April 9th in 2025. In order to align with the timing of the pre-orders to be determined in the US, Nintendo will provide updated information at a later date, the launch date, blah, 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 blah. We apologize for any inconvenience.
Remember what I said about Nintendo fans being willing to pay?
Gamer Cage, please, don't delay it. I'll pay $90 for Mario Kart if you keep it. The Yanks screwed us over again. What else is new?
You know things are bad when people want to let you know they're not American, so they throw the Canadian flag in their bio. How is this America's fault, dude? I just woke up, man. What is your problem, you bigot? Well, you're all caught up. Everything really hinges on what Tweetler will do next. You can only hope that there's light at the end of the tunnel. And unfortunately, gamers are now feeling the pinch. It's so sad when people who have so little wake up to find that they'll have a little less and it'll cost a little more. And we're all just a little tired.